Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Jamie Tributitis, and you're listening to Ugly Like Me. And I'm saying that so strangely, ugly like me, because I'm so excited that this is actually a radio show now. So I wanted to give out a special shout out to MS&Me, especially Erica and Cynthia. You know, this is a 24/7 international channel for people with MS and, people with other things, any chronic illness. So it's hard to do anything 24/7, so I'm giving them a shout out for their hard work and a great big thanks for doing this for our community. Awareness, it all starts with awareness, and that's how we progress and we affect change, and I love them for that. So thank you, Erica and Cynthia and everybody else on the other side who isn't on the show. This show is actually going to start with Scott Woolman, who is a testicular cancer survivor and a poet. And, we met over writing. We're writers. We write about what we're going through. So we kind of forged a relationship over that. And the sickness was sort of peripheral, but then there are times when it really does take a front stage. So I thought, not everybody has MS, but everybody has something, and that is the byline to Ugly Like Me, the blog. So I thought it would be nice to have somebody who doesn't have MS on, just to show you how much empathy we get from MS and how much we connect to everyone and everything because of it. I thank God for that every day. That really pisses people off too when I say that I thank God for that, but I do. I thank God for the empathy that it's given me. I'm a grateful person. So I just wanted to talk first, though. The show is going in a different direction. It's not going to start with Scott. We have a whole slew of people lined up, and I dropped my book. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I was talking to Michael, or MJ Wentick. I was talking to Michael Wentick. I just think of him as a life less traveled, which, that's not his name. Like, I should not call him up and be like, hey, life less traveled, how you doing? But, I was listening to his radio segments, and there were 3 of them, and he sent them to me early, and, which is a blessing. I'm very honored, and they were wonderful, and really, really relevant. Like I was talking to the computer as I was listening, thinking he could respond when he couldn't. And my children were like, Mommy, what are you doing? That's a whole other thing. They know I'm crazy. It's okay. But at the end of I was driving in the car. I was not the driver, though. Don't think I'm a driver and texter. I was in the passenger seat, and he said to me, can I just ask you one thing? And I said, sure. And he said, why do you call your blog, which, it's award winning, it's been around, it's books have come from it and stuff, it's been around for a decade now, and I'm very proud of it. But he said, why do you call it Ugly Like Me? You're not an ugly person. And he was kind of disagreeing with me calling myself ugly, and I thought that was so beautiful. And thank you, Michael, for not thinking I'm ugly. And just so you know, I don't think anybody's ugly. The thing that I hate, probably one of my greatest pet peeves, hate is a bad word, but the greatest pet peeves are people who are self-deprecating. I find it so unappealing and so not productive. There's nothing comes from being self-deprecating. You really have to believe in yourself to do anything in this world. And I think I learned a lot about that from MS. So Ugly Like Me came at a time when I was really, really depressed. I mean, you think of imminent death, like I was told quadriplegia. Now you think, okay, life, the worst thing that happens is you die, right? And nah, not always, because, sometimes you're told you're going to have a slow death, and you might not be able to move from the mouth down or breathe or things like that. And you might have seizures and, things can be a lot worse than death in my mind, and I have faith. So, I'm going somewhere lovely. So death, doesn't scare me at this moment. It probably will when it comes, but quadriplegia scared me more. And I started to get very, very depressed about it. I remember just sort of shuffling. My legs couldn't work that well, and I was sitting there and listening to the doctor say it. And I was shuffling the lint. Any shuffle, any move I could make with my legs, I was trying to do because I was trying so hard not to cry in front of him. And I went home, and nobody talked to me about it. None of my family, extended family, but my husband, we talked about it a little bit, and it's not something you want to talk to your husband about or bring home, especially when you have a 6-month-old baby and a 4-year-old, and then the problem was the logistics of it. Like, you think like imminent death, like something's going to explode and blah, blah, blah. And no, MS doesn't work that way. It's different for everybody. But I would say the majority of people, it is slow going. And so logistically, it screws you up. Like, you have to deal with it on a daily basis, whether it's limping, it's the pain, the memory fog, but also the bills, like not being able to work, not being able to get disability. In America, you have to fight for that for a very long time. And so we haven't filed for disability. So what I did was I was so depressed about it, and I didn't want to put one more thing on my husband. I knew what he was going through to an extent. In a way, I realize now how selfish I was. But in another way, I understood that I couldn't put one more thing on him. So I just started to write. And I started to write, and I started to talk about it. And so many people, especially family, not family that I created, not my own nuclear family, but they were embarrassed by me sharing, and some of their friends would write to me and they would love it. And then other times I would be told, no, they hate you. They hate your writing, blah, blah, blah. And I realized that, there's no anger there or whatever. It's just, they were brought up in a generation when we didn't talk about things like multiple sclerosis, and it was deemed something ugly. And you know what? I didn't do anything to deserve multiple sclerosis. I was running marathons. I was giving birth to babies. I was teaching students with special needs in urban areas where most people don't go unless their GPS takes them to the wrong part of the town and they don't want to get out of the car and blah, blah, blah. I was going there on purpose because I felt it was a noble vocation and God called me there. They had a right to an education. Just kind of like I thought I had a right to my legs, which I didn't have a right to. So me losing my legs, losing the degrees, the hard work, the careers, the juggling babies, all working and helping people financially, all that. Why is that shameful? That was taken from me, but that was nothing I did on my own. So I just brought it to light, and I realized, when you take something so ugly and you put it in the light and you let other people see, and they say, you know what? I can relate to that. Like, it's not MS, it's called this or that or whatever, but I can relate to it, and thank you so much, because it comforts people, it serves people, and it gives you a purpose. If I had MS and I just sat here and just, I don't know, binge watched Netflix for the next 5 weeks. I do that when I get sad. Everybody does that a little bit. But if that's all my existence was about, and the only reason why I had MS, then this would be a terrible thing. But if my MS, it serves someone else, it serves to progress someone else, it affects them in some positive way, it creates positive change in their life, it reaches out in the darkness and it pulls them through, because we tend to isolate when we get sad, then amen, then I'll take it. Then my life had great purpose here, and I'm beautiful for it, and so, we all have these ugly things about us, and I don't like self-deprecating people. I mean, I like them. I'm not, but I don't like watching people be self-deprecating. I want you to love yourselves. I want you to know your worth, and I want you to know that it's really when you get sick, or like something tragic happens, where you realize how much strength you really, really have. I mean, it's funny. Some people will be like, "Oh, Jamie, you're so strong. You're so brave." And it's like, no, dude, you have no idea. Like, I had my back up against the wall. I was in the dark. I was fighting a monster, and I had to get the heck out. It wasn't about being brave. There was none of that. It was about surviving. And a lot of things were taken away. I had to learn how to live an entirely other lifestyle, and I did become a writer. I started to write, and I called it Ugly Like Me, and within 3 months I was writing in 96 countries, and I still do that, and it led to a children's book about MS. I do believe, we have a lot of dialogue going on out there, but it stops with the children when it should start with the children. I love people like Carrie Eastman, who she had a son named Joel. She has a son named Joel. I don't like talking about him in past tense, but he got MS at a very young age, and he passed at around 27 in his sleep. And wow, she's like a mom to me. We're very close. So I've met a lot of people, and I've talked about a whole lot of things, and the one thing that I saw that was lacking was talking about the children. So there are children who do have MS, and if I can connect them in any way, I will use this as a platform to do that. And then there are the children who love somebody with MS. In the United States, we have over 400,000 people. Now, that's what they've said. 400,000 people with MS in the United States of America. But they've said that for about a decade, and they say that for very good reason. It's called funding research. So if something stays more like an orphan, a low, not that big, not that great type of disease, they will get more money for it. So I truly believe those numbers are inaccurate, and it's actually much, much higher. And the worldwide number is 2.1 million people have MS worldwide. Now, in many places, I mean, they're war-torn. There's no treatment. There's no health care. You do not admit that you have MS. Even cultural differences. They might see you as somebody who's evil, who has evil spirits in you, something like that. So there's a lot of people who haven't even told someone, let alone been diagnosed with it or treated. So 2.1 and 400,000 people with MS. Think about all the children attached to them. That's a whole lot of babies that are confronted with an illness that is strange and sort of unpredictable. And mommy, why are you on the couch? Why can't you go in the sun? Why are you walking like that? Why are you using a cane today, but like the next week you're not using a cane? Why can't you think of words? All these sorts of things come to mind, and that's why Zoe Bowie sings Despite All Sad Things, based on my children, Zoe and AJ, who we call Meatball in the book. Don't call him Meatball in real life, he'll get mad. I kind of forgot he'd grow up and not like that term. But that's how that came to be. But I also am aware that I am a model for my children, and I would never be self-deprecating. I do not call myself ugly. I call myself beautiful because God made me, God made my babies, and God knows that I'm still hanging on with this pretty awful disease. So, and it's progressed, it gets pretty crazy, and I'm still hanging on, and I find that quite beautiful, and I see people doing it every day, and I commend them for it. So I just wanted to let you know. So thank you, Michael, first of all, for that. And thank you for your radio show, Life Less Traveled. It's really wonderful. And I think more men do need to speak out. And we'll have a segment about that, about the gender differences. Men are less likely to have it. Women are 4 times likely to have MS. But the ironic thing is, women are also more likely to talk about it. I get letters all the time, but some people will just say it out, like on social media. But the men will be like, direct message, and if you tell anybody, I will kill you. Please do not tell anybody I'm asking you this. And I have to bring it down a notch and remind them to breathe. And it's not mine to tell. It's not my sickness to tell. It's not my struggle. I'm just there to try to help in any way I can. So, so we're going to have Scott on, we're going to have Lizette, and don't make me say her last name. It's too long. And it's actually really Italian, and she is this Latino spitfire. I love to watch her. I just love to look at her. It sounds a little creepy. Kind of like how William Aguilera, who's coming on to talk about caregiving for his elderly father with MS after having it for 25 years. It's creepy, kind of like how he used to try to kick my ballet shoes off when we were getting treated. That was a little weird with his foot fetish. He doesn't do it anymore now because, I'll kick him. But, the first time you're getting a treatment done and you're next to a guy who's, kind of kicking your ballet flats off, it's a little bizarre. So, but also I have a great friend, Karen O'Shea, who I blog with all over the world. She's in Ireland, and I'm 10 minutes outside of New York City. But her and I are going to do a question answer type of thing, an advice segment. So if you have any questions that you need to talk to us about, especially embarrassing things, a lot of us complain that we don't like our doctors until we find that one. It's like finding the one, right? Like your life partner, finding the one. So you find the one, but then he's a little attractive and he's kind of smart and he's a doctor, and you kind of don't want to talk to him about sex and poop and things like that. So there are a lot of embarrassing aspects to it, and they need to be discussed, though. They're clinical, there typically is a solution. I must say sex is good to have when you have MS. If you're a female and you're having heterosexual sex, it actually increases the blood flow inside that area, which many of us tend to lose feeling in. So I will say that before I get into any of the really embarrassing questions. So you can write me, at Ugly Like Me, and that's on Twitter. My Instagram. What is my Instagram? Let's look it up together, peeps. I think, it might be Jamie Ugly Like Me. Hold on, guys. We're gonna see what my Instagram is. After a while, Instagram is just kind of like, oh wait, I can look it up on my phone. Will it say what it is? I'm getting lots of love on Instagram. Thank you. I don't know. I don't even know what it is. It's like Jamie. Oh, it's just Jamie Utitis. So, so you can put up pictures, ask questions, whatever. Jamie Utitis on Ugly Like Me. I'm wearing a blue with a cream thing on it. Or you can write me at Velocity GRL, take out the I in girl, at MSN.com. Or is there another way to write to me? You can find me on Facebook. Just Ugly Like Me, Jamie Tributitis. It comes up. Just direct message me. I also think that it is really necessary, though, and I'm so only half kidding. No, I'm not half kidding. I'm being totally serious. We need a show about Netflix binging, because I have Netflix binged so many times when I'm sick. I mean, come on, face it, we're in bed a lot. It happens. So, we do need a show on that. I need people to talk to me about what shows really are awesome on Netflix. And also know that there's I guess it's an app. It's called Rabbit. It's RABB.IT, and you can sign up for it, and you can have friends all over the world watch shows with you. So, like, I watched Ally McBeal, I believe. I guess I missed that decade. Like, I was just in college and doing my own thing. So we watched the entire series together. She's in France and didn't speak English, and I was here outside New York City. But you can see each other on the bottom. You can opt out of it, or you can use a little mic. And then the show that you pull up comes in the middle. But there's also like a sideline where you can just sort of like text each other. And that's really, I don't want to blow up Sophie's spot and say that's how she learned English, or take credit for it. But I mean, a lot of the English she learned was by me texting her on the side, not just speaking. I mean, it was important for her to hear me, not so much to see me. We're usually in the dark because we have a 6-hour difference. So she's like an insomniac and I'm not. It was just a good time when I didn't have my kids. But a lot of her learning the language was just from talking to me on the side, and I would text her about phrases and what they meant on the side. So if you want to, again, if you have like a favorite show or something like that, like we're stuck on Riverdale. Riverdale is like the thing to watch in our household, and the whole family can watch it. It's family friendly. It's based on the Archie comics. We tend to be a comic book household. And I think October 11th is when the new one comes out, the new season, which is a little icky, but a little lovely, because I have to be in my best friend's wedding, like August 12th or 13th. Sorry, Nick, if I muck that up. October 13th. So I might be traveling, and then I have to go to Nashville. But I will be recording Riverdale, and if you have anything that I'm supposed to be watching, I'm really that desperate. Game of Thrones, I've read every single book, and I don't get HBO. It's just that simple and that stupid. My doctor did give me his HBO password plus thing, but it doesn't work like unless you have HBO. I thought that was a really kind thing for him to do. He's the reason I read the books, actually. We did this thing where we were like, okay, like I'll read what you read and you read what I read, but I don't think he actually read what I read. Because if I don't do that, I'll read the same crap over and over. So I actually read the first book, and while I was reading the first book, I asked my husband to go out and get me the second book. Like, I always had to have the next book, but the problem is it ended, and now I don't have HBO, and I can't watch the show, and it's absolutely tragic to me. I did get to Rabbit one, like a really fuzzy, not great version with my friend Sophie in France, and I did notice that it's not at all like what I read in the books. Daenerys and like her journey in the beginning is quite hostile compared to the books. In the book, it's kind of not that way. And also another interesting MS fact is the writer of those he used to go to my neurologist, my MS specialist. What's his name? George R. George Martin? I don't know. I could walk over to my bookshelf, but I really don't feel like doing that. But he's since moved, I think, to like New Mexico with the love of his life, Paris. But his family goes to my neurologist, and it's a little hard not to geek out. Like, and they didn't even do anything. Like, I don't know why I want to geek out over them. But yeah, let's let this Netflix binging thing go on, because it really is a part. When you can't move, it's a part of our lives, watching stuff on TV and getting really into it. But we're also going to get into caregiving. You know, caregiving when you have special needs is really, really hard. And I'm so blessed that I have my husband and my children around me. And we're also going to talk to a cancer survivor and a poet. Writing is such a huge way of healing. And I think that it's important that people know that we both write and we had different diseases, but they still connected us. Also, I tried to do this yesterday, but I screwed it up. I'm going to walk around town and I'm going to ask people to talk into the microphone and ask and tell us what they think MS is. And the funny thing is, I started that with my son, who I wrote a book about, and he didn't know. Like, he knew it stood for multiple sclerosis, but he couldn't really say anything more than that. He did, like, and he was like all gung-ho, like he wanted to be on a radio show, and he really did want to know. Like, he wasn't just being like a little 8-year-old boy who didn't want to be in it. So yeah, I think I might like just sort of walk into Victoria's Secrets and Urban Outfitters and all the stores that are by me, mosey on in, and ask them what they think MS is. And you know what the beautiful thing is? It does stand for multiple sclerosis, but my sister has it, and my first cousin has it, and there are a few other cousins who are being tested for it, and they don't even really, they don't look anything like my MS. So, you know, we all have our differences, I suppose. So it's funny, I don't really know what answer I'm looking for. Like, what is the right answer? Maybe AJ was correct when he just said multiple sclerosis. So, yeah, that's it. So thank you so much for joining us at the MS&Me Radio Network. We are so happy that you joined us. And this is the first in MS Internet Media and Disease Awareness internationally. And we're so happy to be here and grateful. And grateful for the people like Erica and Cynthia who work so hard to keep it going 24/7. God bless.